Ladies and gentlemen, the theme of this conference is transforming Kenya's economy through a fiscally sustainable public sector wage bill. The conference brings together key stakeholders from national and county government, private sector, civil society, and non-state actors. The conference is an outcome of a special summit meeting held on the 4th of March 2019. During the summit, a fiscally unsustainable wage bill was identified as negatively impacting on the government's ability to deliver on its development and service delivery objectives as envisaged in the Big Four agenda. Ladies and gentlemen, the wage bill as a percentage of revenue dropped from 57.3% in 2013-2014 to 48% in 2018-2019. And the wage bill to GDP dropped from 10.43% in 2013-2014 to 7.9% in 2018-2019 financial years. Competing expenditure needs means that the country requires a strong focus on management of the wage bill to ensure that the wage bill growth is in tandem with economic and revenue growth. The Salaries and Remuneration Commission has focused on and implemented on 4 key principles. These are fiscal sustainability, attraction and retention of requisite skills, transparency, fairness, and equal pay for work of equal value. However, the 5th principle, which is to recognize productivity and performance, has not been implemented and will inform remuneration and benefit strategy going forward. Implementation depends on a robust performance management and productivity framework in the public sector. Ladies and gentlemen, the outcomes of the conference will inform policies and strategies to enable achievement of a fiscally sustainable public sector wage bill. I call upon each one of us to constructively engage in discussions and sharing of experiences for the betterment of our country.
The public sector in Kenya plays a key role in promoting economic growth and development. In the county governments, public wage bill has been in an increasing trend due to increased demand for public services in health and in education, and a subsequent rise in the number of public service employees and the quantum of compensation. The 2 levels of government have a responsibility to ensure that public services are equitably delivered in a manner that is prudent, economic, efficient, and sustainable. It is therefore necessary to encourage sobriety from the workers' trade unions and also to implore upon them to review salaries based on periodic reviews. Finally, I confirm our commitments as county government to working with all stakeholders to achieve this mandate.
The public sector wage bill has been on an upward trend as a result of expansion of services to the citizenry, more so in the context of a devolved system of government. This expansion of public service coverage is expected to continue, especially within the context of implementing the initiatives under the Big Four agenda and other sustainable development goals as envisioned in the 2030. More importantly, we need to understand that labor is a crucial factor of production. This desire for more numbers and more welfare is not accompanied by commensurate growth of the economy nor productivity. In the next 5 years, Public sector wage bill must deliberately be maintained within the stipulated PFM mark target and international benchmark of 7.5% of GDP to enable the country have sufficient fiscal space to meet these obligations. We must work hard to contribute to the health of the economy. And that means we must not only reduce the size of government, but also reduce the size of recurrent expenditure. The cost of running that government must be within measures that we consider very important. Due to the negative impact of high wage bill, it's important that effective public sector wage bill management strategies be put in place to achieve the wage bill to revenue target of not more than 35% in order to release resources for development and continued expansion of services in a fiscally sustainable manner. It is for this reason that we are gathered here for the next 3 days so that we can interrogate and have an open, frank discussion on how we are going to change this unfavorable state of affairs. It's my hope that we shall have an opportunity to articulate strategies and refocus on our energies with a view of critically examining the components of public sector wage bill, such as salaries, allowances, and other benefits. In addition, we also need to bring our minds together to discuss the key drivers of public sector wage bill, such as performance management and productivity, policy issues on remuneration and benefits, employment levels, labor relations, work ethics, among other emerging issues. Ladies and gentlemen, as we engage on the theme of this conference, may I share my thoughts on this important discourse? I believe that Kenya can achieve a fiscally sustainable public sector wage bill. However, this has been hampered by a number of factors, such as one, lack of a clear framework that recognizes productivity and performance. Secondly, sustainability of public service reform initiatives aimed at robust performance management system that is citizen-centric and focused on productivity. It also addresses non-comprehensive remuneration and benefits management policy. There's also lack of established optimal staffing levels, especially at the counties. Isn't it not the time now to look at our labor relation laws? Do you have to withhold services in key strategic essential services? There's also a weak payroll management system, and as a result of this, there have been a number of payrolls are populated with ghost workers. There's also weak administration and management of allowances. There are certain sectors in this country, in public sector, where you have to give more than 10 to 15 different allowances. I'm also concerned with the pension liability, whose expenditure has increased. In 2013-2014, we were paying about 27.9 billion. And 4 years later, 2017-2018, it has moved to 65 billion. And now stands at 104 billion. I believe the issues mentioned above undoubtedly require a multi-sectoral, multi-pronged approach. And that's why every segment of society here, whether from private sector, whether from civil society, whether from the various dimensions of public service, we need to put our heads together so that we come up with an elaborate, agreed roadmap that's going to address the challenges in our country. In this regard, I urge you to approach the discussion with an open mind so as to be able to frankly converse on issues and agenda with a view to coming up with a long-lasting solution that can fiscally sustain our public sector wage bill. I wish you all the best. And it's now my pleasure to declare this conference officially open. Thank you very much.
Our country, as of now, is overdue for some very serious thinking. So the main outcome of this conference will be useful to this republic if some action will be taken. SRC is one institution that by law must make decisions based on sound principles in the Constitution and in law, the SRC Act. So when we do advise, we do so within those principles and provisions of the law. We cannot continue at that 5-6%. It is too low at our current birth rates. Some serious thinking, something has to be done right down from our counties up to the national government level. Deal with consumption, increase investments, protect our youth, restore the image of the Republic of Kenya as a performing political economy. Ways of addressing wage bill challenges. One is mainstreaming productivity and performance in the public service. I want to emphasize this is the first one we must start from. So it is time we seriously thought of promoting a culture of service to the nation. That is a culture of service to all of us. And your pride should be on what you have done for other Kenyans. If you are a leader, should be on how many other Kenyans you have mentored to be highly productive, efficient, and high-performing workers in the Republic of Kenya, either in private sector or in the public sector. You should earn what you deserve. You should earn what you work for. Otherwise, this thing of some people getting so much money for nothing, and you look at them and you say, that one was even at the bottom of our class. Where did he make this money to now come and boast around in a Range Rover and what have you, out of money he has taken because of the position he had in public service? We just have to say no, and say it so firmly, not to allow anybody to earn something for nothing. So mainstreaming integrity to achieve productivity in public service is really a priority.
Wage bill is a strategic resource. It's a strategic resource because it's one of the largest items in the public resource envelope, in the budget. Therefore, it deserves to be handled strategically, but it is not. Secondly, there can be technical challenges in handling it. And thirdly, there can be inescapable political challenges in handling it. What that really implies is that if we are going to handle this issue, we need to do rigorous technical analysis, but also it needs to be complemented by what we call political economy analysis. That you have to understand the politics around the wage bill in your country. Because if you don't understand the politics around the wage bill in your country, you will come up with the technical solutions, but they will not be sustainable. Then there will be technical challenges in terms of the competencies of the people you have. Who do you have? And let me say this with all due respect, in a lot of places, budget is just a routine, okay? And where budget is just a routine, then obviously, you don't invest in the rigors of analysis. And I've seen, countries which have addressed this issue have really taken the time to try to understand the challenges facing them from a technical level. Then the institutional and organizational environment and culture also make it possible or difficult for you to get the right technical solutions. And then, of course, you need availability of data, information, and knowledge. This last point, cannot be overemphasized. Most countries, in many developing countries, do not have good numbers of how many employees they have. From what we see globally, above all, in terms of handling a high public sector wage bill crisis, politics matters.
I am honored to be given the opportunity to speak at all this important forum and to share with you the Ghanaian experience. In Ghana, when you come to the public sector, you don't have a pay structure for the different actors within the public space. So the health sector do not have their own structure. Education do not have their own structure. We have a harmonized structure. So when it comes to negotiation, we sit at one table and do one negotiation, and then when we are done, it is applicable to every body within the public sector, except for those that are constitutional bodies. We also utilize the collaboration with labor to reform our pension scheme. In Ghana, our pension scheme we have moved away from defined benefit to defined contribution pension scheme. And even that, we have even moved further. What we currently have is a 3-tier pension scheme whereby the nation's social security trust manages a portion of one's pension, and then we have private pension schemes which are sponsored by the various occupational groups. It is important to emphasize that government does not take any policy decision which impacts on labor unilaterally without the involvement and input of labor. Mr. Chairman, our laws have also contributed in ensuring peaceful labor environment. The Labor Act 2003 at 651 also defines roles and responsibilities of government, labor, and employers in any undertaking to promote harmonious labor and industrial relations. The existence of the Act has also contributed, as I said, significantly to achieving a predictable and stable labor environment. The Labor Department is the lead institution responsible for the enforcement of the Labor Act. We don't enter into the implementation year before we negotiate. So, for instance, that of 2020 should have been completed by end of April 2019 to allow policymakers to include that in their planning for 2020. Frequent engagements are held with social partners to deliberate on conditions of service for public sector workers in accordance with provisions of the 1992 Constitution. If we want to get the best out of our public sector workers, then we must also ensure that they are well motivated. Of course, when I talk of motivation, I'm not talking only of monetary terms motivation, but all other forms of motivation. So, even in your search to ensure that you improve governance and relations with labor in Kenya, it would be better to have a labor department, and even better still, if you can raise the labor department to an authority where they will oversee all labor-related issues in the country. You already have Salaries and Emolument Commission. I will endorse that that is kept so that it has a responsibility to look purely at the public sector wage and see how best you can harmonize all the various public sector wage systems into one system. A defined benefit pension scheme is not sustainable because it's an additional cost. I would advocate for a contributory pension scheme where, yes, government contributes some. So when I say by implication, I'm saying employers. They contribute a portion, and then you, the beneficiary, also contributes a portion. But in doing so, you will have to have an authority that will be responsible for regulating the pension scheme. That is very, very necessary, because if you are going to have multiple players within the pension industry, you need to sanitize the system. And the best way you can do that is to have a regulatory body that will oversee the administration of pensions. In conclusion, achieving a predictable and stable labor environment for the sustainability of Kenya public sector wage bill is not beyond the government of Kenya.
I wish to focus the attention on the performance, productivity, and outcomes of the public service as a mechanism through which we address our public wage bill challenge. Let me re-emphasize, for the avoidance of doubt, it is the intention of the government to build a professional, effective, and well-remunerated workforce. It is the right of each and every Kenyan to demand and expect the public whom we serve for the services that we are required to deliver. Therefore, in a continuous effort to achieve more with less, the key question should not always be about cutting costs, but rather answering the question of what do we do as citizens in order to meet, we who are employed by the government, what we do in order to meet the demands by our citizens with respect to public services, and how do we deliver these services to them.
By ensuring that the public services we deliver are responsive to the needs of the citizens, that way we can be assured of sustainable growth and indeed fiscally
sustainable wage bill and the transformation of our beloved nation. So, Madam Chair, we remain hopeful to receiving from this meeting concise set of implementable recommendations in pursuit of the noble agenda of transforming our nation.
If we have not been able to achieve optimization, it's not because we are not trained enough, it's not that we do not have the competencies. We have the competencies, we have the knowledge. What might be lacking probably is the attitude and the behavior. And that is a question we want to put to every public servant who works in the Republic of Kenya.
Then it only takes an outsider to come and remind you that you were at the height of public management in 2007, and it's not my personal view. The United Nations Public Service Award for Excellence was given to Kenya. This is the reason why I consider Kenya to be pilgrimage. You have no idea how much impact you've had over in the Commonwealth countries. All the English-speaking countries which have a similar Westminster form of government like we have, you have transformed the rest of the Commonwealth. So it is painful for me to come and see that you have forgotten your own glorious past. So my first urge and request is, go back to your roots. You don't need to really reinvent the wheel. For effective performance management, you need performance-related incentive. Effective performance management leads to improved service delivery, which in turn leads to improved revenue and economic growth. I'm just putting it simply what the concept paper says. And that ultimately will lower the wage bill to revenue ratio. So the answer is blowing in the wind. I mean, I think it's clear that we need to do what the concept paper says. The question is, how do we do it? Performance management requires at least three things. First, you must measure. No doubt you must measure performance. But there must be accountability. You must assign a person that it was, you cannot say, well, the child mortality project did not work. It's not the project. Who was in charge of that project? There must be so that's accountability. Measurement, accountability. And the third is incentive. If there are no consequences, once you have identified the child mortality project did not work, Mr. X was responsible for it, but nothing happens to Mr. X. No consequence. Next time Mr. X will say, great, why should I spend time on this? So you need all three for performance management. Measurement has two aspects, efficiency and effectiveness. Both are important. There is no choice. I don't know, sometimes we tend to use words like there may be choice. So performance management is neither efficiency nor effectiveness. It's both. You have to do the best with the resources and do the right things. So you have to do the right things and do it right. The next steps are very simple. You need to re-energize and reform the performance contract. There is no other option. Second, implement a cascading performance contracts to the lowest level, which you had started doing. It must not stay at the permanent secretary level. It must be at all levels, and it must cascade, and the experience is clear. And then introduce a performance-related incentive scheme. You will see miracles, and then we will be able to take that story and motivate other countries in the Commonwealth how best to do it. Thank you very much.
The determination in many ways of the leadership of the country to deliver on an ambitious development agenda, but faced at the same time with stagnating revenues and increasing debt service obligations. Now, you've obviously got your annual budgetary process, which brings all of this together, but we as development partners, we have a keen interest in working with you. We have a keen interest in supporting you to improve the efficiency of public spending, to achieve a better service delivery outcome. This is for me where the focus needs to be. Service delivery, service quality needs to be really, I think, the primary objective when scrutinising budgets and holding the political leaders accountable. And wage bill is one part of that. Unleashing the potential of particularly the young, particularly the women, particularly the young people and women in Kenyan society will make a huge difference to the future prosperity of this country, and we stand by you in this common goal.
This is a very important conference and a very important subject, and I'm very glad that the World Bank is associated with this event and this topic. Kenya has had a very impressive performance in its economy and its indicators over the last 10 or 15 years. And I really want to highlight that because it really has enjoyed growth, stability, very manageable economic indicators. The economy has grown at an average of nearly 6% per year since 2013, and that is almost 2% higher than the average in sub-Saharan Africa. Generally, the business climate in Kenya is positive, certainly compared to most of its peers here in sub-Saharan Africa. Kenya has improved 73 positions, has skipped over 73 countries in the ranking of doing business since 2013, is now ranks number 3 in sub-Saharan Africa, just behind Mauritius and Rwanda. So I am very happy to be speaking at this conference when, at a time when the government is seeking ways to return to fiscal stability. The government, the current team at the National Treasury is working hard on a fiscal consolidation pathway, which is absolutely critical if Kenya is to avoid serious problems in the future. And it's absolutely necessary for crowding in the private sector, boosting investment, and creating jobs. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to end by commending the government of Kenya, the SRC, and all of those participating here for their efforts in addressing the fiscal imbalances, and within that, for ensuring a fiscally sustainable public wage bill.
In order to address the challenges that impede our ability to ensure a fiscally sustainable wage bill in the public service, the conference resolves as follows. The first resolution is to develop a comprehensive national performance management policy to streamline and standardize public sector performance management at a national and county government levels. The lead actor who will be responsible for taking this action is the Public Service Commission, in collaboration with the Ministry of Public Service, Youth and Gender, Salaries and Remuneration Commission, and the Council of Governors. Resolution number 2 is to develop a national productivity policy to measure productivity of the public sector within the performance management implementation framework. The lead actor will be the Ministry of Public Service, Youth and Gender Affairs, in collaboration with the Ministry of Labor and Social Protection, Public Service Commission, State Corporations Advisory Committee, Council of Governors, Salaries and Remuneration Commission, and the National Treasury and Planning. Resolution number 3, to develop a public sector productivity index to be piloted in the Health Teacher Service Commission and in selected state corporations, and thereafter roll out to other sectors. The lead actors will be Ministry of Health, Teacher Service Commission, and State Corporations Advisory Committee, in collaboration with Salaries and Remuneration Commission, Council of Governors, Ministry of Labor and Social Protection, and the National Treasury and Planning. Resolution number 4, strengthen institutional capacity of the National Productivity and Competitiveness Center to discharge its mandate of promoting productivity management to enhance the country's economic growth and competitiveness, and to broaden the scope to cover both national and county governments. The lead actor is the Ministry of Labor and Social Protection, in collaboration with Salaries and Remuneration Commission, Public Service Commission, Council of Governors, and National Treasury and Planning. Resolution number 5, review the public sector remuneration and benefits policy to facilitate rewarding productivity and stronger wage bill control while ensuring wages are competitive, equitable, and transparent. The lead actor is the Salaries and Remuneration Commission, in collaboration with Ministry of Public Service, Youth and Gender, Public Service Commission, Council of Governors, Ministry of Labor and Social Protection, National Treasury and Planning. Resolution 6, develop a policy framework for streamlining the management of allowances to improve transparency, accountability, equity, and fairness of pay. The lead actor is the Salaries and Remuneration Commission, in collaboration with the Ministry of Public Service, Youth and Gender, Public Service Commission, Council of Governors, and the National Treasury and Planning. Resolution 7, align the Labor Relations Act and the Industrial Relations Charter to Article 24 on limitation of rights and fundamental freedoms, Article 41 on labor relations, Article 43 on economic and social rights of the Constitution of Kenya 2010, as well as ILO Convention 150 on labor administration. The lead actor is the Ministry of Labor and Social Protection, in collaboration with the Council of Governors, Teacher Service Commission, Ministry of Health, Salaries and Remuneration Commission, and the Attorney General Office. Resolution number 8, establish a framework and standing sectoral collective bargaining negotiation committees to represent both national and county governments as employers in collective bargaining. The lead actors is the Ministry of Public Service, Youth and Gender, and Teacher Service Commission, in collaboration with Ministry of Labor and Social Protection, State Corporations and Advisory Committee, Council of Governors, Salaries and Remuneration Commission, and National Treasury and Planning. Resolution number 9, institutionalize alternative dispute resolution mechanisms at national and county governments to promote amicable resolution of disputes to preserve harmonious labor relations and mitigate disruption of service delivery. The lead actor is the Ministry of Labor and Social Protection, in collaboration with Ministry of Devolution and ASAL, Public Service Commission, Intergovernmental Relations Technical Committee, Salaries and Remuneration Commission, Council of Governors, National Treasury and Planning, Attorney General's Office, Teacher Service Commission, and the Ministry of Health. Resolution number 10, develop a national pensions policy and further consolidate and harmonize the public service pension laws at national and county governments level. The lead actor is the National Treasury and Planning, in collaboration with Ministry of Public Service, Youth and Gender, Public Service Commission, Council of Governors, Salaries and Remuneration Commission. Resolution 11, gazette the commencement date for the Public Service Superannuation Scheme Act of 2012 and set up a multi-sectoral team to oversee implementation. The lead actor is the National Treasury and Planning in collaboration with Ministry of Public Service, Youth and Gender and Public Service Commission. Resolution 12, rationalize organizational structures at national and county governments to align with mandates and functions and establish optimal staffing levels. The lead actors is Ministry of Public Service, Youth and Gender and the Council of Governors. In collaboration with Public Service Commission, Commission of Revenue Allocation, Salaries and Remuneration Commission, Ministry of Devolution and ASAL Areas, Intergovernmental Relations Technical Committee. Resolution 13, establish an intergovernmental agreement to facilitate optimal utilization and management of health workers. The lead actor is Intergovernmental Relations Technical Committee in collaboration with Ministry of Health, Council of Governors, Public Service Commission, Ministry of Devolution and ASAL. Resolution 14, develop and embed a culture that promotes the national values with emphasis on leadership, accountability, productivity, service to the nation, and a strong work ethic. The lead actor is Ministry of Public Service, Youth and Gender in collaboration with Public Service Commission and the Council of Governors. Resolution 15 is actually about constituting an intergovernmental multi-agency team to implement the agreed resolutions. The team will develop a monitoring and evaluation framework that will address all these resolutions with clear timelines, with clear accountabilities. The lead actor is the Intergovernmental Relations Technical Committee and the Salaries and Remuneration Commission in collaboration with all the actors that I did mention earlier.
Having participated in the discussion in the conference aimed at transforming Kenya's economy through a fiscally sustainable wage bill, recognizing that performance is a factor of work environment, and acknowledging that our current wage bill is a constraint to economic growth and development of counties. On behalf of the county governments, I affirm the resolutions stated, except 11 and 15, and commit our unreserved will to provide conducive environment and ensure implementation of the same. Signed, Wycliffe Ambassador Paranya, Chairman, Council of Governors.
On behalf of national government and as a minister responsible for public service, I would like to give a statement of commitment that these resolutions, we are going to take them from here and start working on an implementation framework so that we will have all the stakeholders, and then we'll be able to say what each one of them will be able to do, by when, by who, and how are we going to measure it. And I think if we start working around that, the whole of government, both county and the national, will be able to make a significant progress in service delivery, and then our clients or customers will be able to say, for sure, we have seen a better service delivery. It must translate. When a Kenyan go to a hospital, What is their value chain experience from the time they enter to the gate, see a nurse, take their vitals, see a doctor, go to the pharmacy, and finally they go home. If we can't make that as effective as we can, then what we are talking about would be just maybe a talk. What is the experience of a child when they're in a school? What is the experience of security services? So, in my view, public service delivery is so critical to any government so that they will be able to say that they are responding to the needs of their citizens. I take this opportunity to recognize Salaries and Remuneration Commission for its effort in matters of salaries and remuneration. The Commission stand of not shying away, but taking bold decisions in what at times has been deemed unpopular or painful, but you have been able to push on for the common good of this country. Recognizing that the wage bill will continue to grow in absolute terms, the solution lies in growing both revenue and productivity. Prudent use of existing human resource is key. However, an effective, efficient, and citizen-centric public service is realized by an unbalancing act of attracting, retaining competent and motivated staff. As we continue to expand service coverage, I recognize the central role played by human resources at the county government level in providing critical services such as health, water, agriculture, early childhood education, among other services, to the rights of all citizens across the county for ease of accessibility, affordable, and quality service. As you are aware, an efficient and effective public service delivery is anchored on a cost-effective and efficient fit purpose of public service. This has led to effort by the government to undertake continuous review of existing numbers of public servants and skill level in order to build capacity for succession planning, optimal staffing levels, and standardized delivery across the country. Public servants comprise of 1.5% of the total population of Kenya. Yet, it expends in salaries, remuneration, close to 50% of the country's revenue, 10% of the GDP. This is a huge investment for the country that requires returns through improved service delivery and a better outcome and national development. It is my hope that the National Conference has provided solutions to address such challenges. Ladies and gentlemen, it is for this reason that I wish to appeal to labor union and the public sector employers to explore and embrace alternative dispute mechanisms to curb the frequent period of instability in labor relations that the country has witnessed in the recent past. The government recognizes the role of the union and respects the employment rights of workers as enshrined in the Constitution. Equally, the citizens have the right to essential public services. Being aware of the enormous task ahead of us, I assure you that my government will provide you with the necessary support to enable you fulfill the implementation of the policy and the solutions we have endorsed. The government will ensure that the public sector wage bill is sustainable, is supported by productivity is also enhanced, and quality service is delivered to improve better standard of living for Kenyans. Finally, I call upon the Commission to highlight the solutions or recommendations that will be implemented by the Commission, by the ministries, by the departments and agencies, and the county government to support better implementation of all the 15 resolutions. I thank you.
I would now like to officially hand over the resolutions to the county governments, the Chair of the Council of Governors, Governor Oparanya. Professor Kobia, the Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Public Service, Youth and Gender, on behalf of national government. Let us take this challenge to move from challenge to solutions and don't pass them to the next generation. Thank you.
Imarisheni, twapenda maendeleo.